One of the main problems when you're buying pre-ground coffee is freshness. Now, when you stop roasting coffee, from the moment you consume it, it's degassing, which means that it's releasing CO2. And depending on the different roast levels, the CO2 releases at a different rate. Now, when you grind that coffee, you're suddenly exposing the grounds to oxygen and you're letting it degas at a much faster rate. And what this means is that it goes very flat and very dull, and it loses all of its acidity and nice flavors that you would find in a really fresh coffee. So when you're buying the pre-ground coffee from the supermarket, or you're buying pre-ground coffee which was ground 2 weeks ago, a week ago, you're losing all of these nice, fresh, juicy flavors that the coffee could have. Now, this kind of leads on to grinding the coffee yourself and the ways that you can do that. But first, let's talk about also the other thing with pre-ground coffee. The other thing with pre-ground coffee is that it's ground to one specific grind size, and that grind size doesn't take into account what method you're using to brew it, what sort of times you're looking to get, and what sort of flavors that you want to get out of that coffee. You're just relying on the grind size working, and that's not really the best way to brew coffee. Every method requires a very different grind size. There's a big difference between a French press and an espresso. You can't use the same grind size for a French press as you can espresso. They're very, very different. So why is Wholebean better? What Wholebean allows you to do is allows you to grind it yourself at home. It allows you to grind it much closer to the time you're going to be brewing that coffee, hopefully within a minute of brewing that coffee. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to play around with grind size yourself, so you can fine tune your brewing to taste much better and much more what you want it to taste like, rather than being dictated by what the person who ground it up wanted it to be. Grinding at home, it can be quite expensive, and grinders, there's a huge range of prices. The best way to start, if you haven't got a grinder and you're looking to make the transition from pre-ground to grinding it yourself, is to buy a little hand grinder. You can typically pick these up for about £30. We'll leave all the links in the description below for 5 different price points. It ranges from £30 for a hand grinder, or if you want to invest a little bit more, which we recommend you doing, then you should get a one for around £100. It's around a good point to go for. We'll also leave the link in the description. There is a difference between the different price points. Obviously, the main difference is grind consistency. You want your grounds to extract at the same rate, and if you have a big particle and a small particle, then those two particles are going to extract at different rates, which is going to cause different flavors to come through and a less clear cut and clear flavors. Now, the more expensive the grinder is, the more consistent those grinds are going to be. But as I said, if you're just starting off and you're just making a transition from pre-ground to ground coffee to Wholebean coffee, then worrying about a £300 grinder and the consistency is not going to make a huge difference. You're going to notice a huge difference when you start grinding it yourself compared to buying it pre-ground, and that's a great place to start. So thanks for watching the video, and what I want you to do is comment below whether you're using pre-ground or Wholebean and why, and if you're using Wholebean, what grinder are you using, and what suggestions do you have for everybody else that may be making a transition from pre-ground to Wholebean.